Hello, and welcome to my nightmare. I'm Jen, and this is my channel, Literary Love 123. If you are new, I'm so glad that you have found me. If you are returning, I am so happy that you wanted to come back and see some more. So, I am going to step out of my comfort zone, and as a horror reader, I am going to read the genre that terrifies me the most, and that is romance. So, after this quick intro, let me then tell you what three books I will be reading for this Horror Reader Reads Romance vlog. I decided to kick off June, the month of love. I guess you could call it that, because I know a lot of weddings take place in June. Not my wedding. I got married in December, but that is beside the point. Let me just go ahead and tell you about the three books that I will be reading for this vlog. The first one is a gift from my best friend who has been wanting me to read this for quite some time. She gave it to me for my birthday in April, and that is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. So this one, I guess, would be considered more of a dark romance. We have a couple of serial killers who kill other serial killers, and they meet each other, and I think a competition ensues, and then romance follows. By the way, too, I'm not going to give a full synopsis of this book or of the other two because I previously gave a full synopsis of all of these books and other videos that I've done, but I will link those down in the description box below. One of them is a book haul video, and the other one is a June TBR video. So if you want more details about the synopsis of these books, then I will link that for you in the description box. The next one is a book that I've had in my TBR cart for a few years, and that one is Lizzie and Dante by Mary Bly. And this book follows a Shakespeare scholar who receives a diagnosis. And after she receives this diagnosis, she goes with her best friend and his boyfriend to spend some time in Italy. And while she's there, she meets a widowed man with a daughter, and a romance ensues. And I think this one is going to be one that I may need Kleenex for. And then the third and final book for this vlog is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I thought the title was really perfect, and this follows a couple who start dating, hoping to counteract this curse, because both of them seem to be cursed with the way that if they are dating someone, as soon as they break up with that person then goes on to find the love of their life. So they're thinking that if they take their cursed selves and start dating, that they can somehow counteract that curse. And so that for each of them, they'll kind of, I guess, I don't know about romance, is fake date. I mean, it's not exactly fake dating, but they're dating with something else in mind besides falling in love with each other. They're dating with the idea that after they break up, then they will each then go on to find the love of their lives. If it sounds confusing, that's because I am confused about these these romance books. So that is the intro. And I'm starting with Butcher and Blackbird because I know that's going to make my best friend happy. So once I get little bit further into that book, I will let you know what I think. Hello, so it is Saturday, June 1st. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. No, I haven't started reading any of my books yet, but I did want to check back in and show you what I got at Michael's during my date night with my husband last night. And the first thing I got was a couple of packs of these Artist Loft watercolor dual tip markers because they were on sale. So they're actually on clearance. So I got a good deal on those. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to be using them for, but we'll see. I didn't want to pass up that deal. And I also got something that I haven't tried before. And this is a painting kit. And it's really nice because it also comes with all of the, there's such a glare with that ring light. Sorry. All of this stuff in the back here. So I'm looking forward to doing that because I need to do something that's going to help me kind of relax because I tend to get stressed out really easily. And I need something that I can just do and just be calm. So other than that, I think that's really all that I have to say right now for this check in. I'm going to get off here and get to reading Butcher and Blackbird. It's a perfect rainy Saturday to read a romance or dark romance or whatever this is. And I will talk to you in the next check in. Hello, it's Sunday morning, about 7:30. I'm drinking coffee. You may ask, why am I up at 7:30 on a Sunday morning? The thing about it is sometimes I'm able to sleep in, but other times I just, I cannot because I'm used to waking up early, like during the school year to get my daughter on the bus and stuff like that. And so sometimes my brain just like wakes up. I won't go back to sleep. So here I am. But let's not talk about my sleeping habits and let's do talk about what I've read in Butcher and Blackbird. I decided to kind of split it up into thirds. Because they're like 345 pages. So perfect to kind of try to split the book into thirds. So in doing that, I got to page 113 last night because 114 started a new chapter. And so let me talk about my thoughts on Butcher and Blackbird. Hopefully you've watched the introduction, but you do know I am a horror reader, but I am branching out for the month of June to read some romance books, starting with this dark romance books about two serial killers who find each other. So they first encounter each other because the main character, that's the woman, her name is Sloane. She's gone to kill this serial killer. And while she has killed him, during the whole, I guess, fight between the two of them, she ended up in a cage. Well, our man that's the serial killer who only kills other serial killers, his name is Rowan, and he has come to the same house because he was going to kill this serial killer, but she got to it first, or him first, or whatever. And so she's locked in this cage. It kind of took place, as she was stabbing the guy before he died, he was able to lock her in a cage. Anyway, Rowan is able to get Sloane out of the cage, and they decide to, go to dinner, have like beer and wings or something like that, beer and barbecue. Um, she does take a shower first, in the guy's house that she killed. So initially, okay, I was being very, I don't know, I guess critical. And some of my notes are like, first of all, I was talking about how when Sloane is in the cage with and the dead body is there, they're like, trigger warning if you're disgusted by maggots. I don't know. Okay, so there are like maggots on the dead body, and it keeps going on and on about the maggots, and it says, if trigger warning here too, which I should have talked about. There's a bunch of trigger warnings. Okay. ADHD moment. Let me go back and talk about, first of all, the first part of this book. Content and trigger warnings. I mean, and some of them are kind of serious, but a lot of them are very like, I guess, tongue in cheek, like trigger warnings for eyeballs and eye sockets. I'm not going to read all these because there's a lot. Just a whole bunch of stuff. But I felt like to this gross part, my notes, I actually put, it was kind of just gross for the sake of being gross. Just, I don't know. I don't mind some grossness, but it seems like it's like, ooh, let's see how gross we can be, and then maybe we can call this book disturbing. I don't know. That was just my initial kind of thought. It does have a playlist for each chapter, and I'm always, intrigued by playlists because I love music. So yeah. Anyway, let me get back to the actual story. And I know this is a little bit scattered, but it's early and that's my excuse anyway. Okay, so another note that I have here is where after, well, it's not even after Rowan has gotten Sloane out of the cage. It's while he's kind of standing there having a conversation with her and she's still in the cage. And she's been in this cage for 3 days, mind you. And she starts noticing like the way that he looks, and she's like, my luck is the worst. He's stunning. Short brown hair, artfully disheveled, strong features, but not severe, a sly smile with perfect teeth, and a straight scar that cuts through his top lip. Lips that are far too inviting given my current state of captivity. Okay. So in my notes, I was like, this response after being caged for 3 days with a dead body, I just don't think that someone would care or really notice someone's, specific scars and full lips, and I'd like to kiss them. But once I got into the book a little further, I had to tell myself, look, lighten up, and just have fun with it. Because this is not the typical book I read. So this is not for me, but I'm reading it. And so I'm going to have to just get over myself, right? And I don't know if it would be a spoiler to kind of give what she's kind of called in the media. So I really won't talk about that, but it's, a name for a serial killer. And I thought it was kind of like cheesy, but it might be spoiler. So I won't talk about that here. And then again, we started having your typical sort of, to me anyway, cringy dialogue and cringy thoughts, because this kind of romance, I don't, it's not my thing. But we get things, from both Sloane's perspective and Rowan's perspective. So it is a dual point of view where you're getting both of their thoughts. So the one that I just talked about was from Sloane's POV. And now this one is from Rowan's. And they're sitting across, from each other after they went to grab a bite to eat and beer or whatever after he got her out of the cage. And he's looking at her and he's like, my, you know what? Strains against my zipper, just watching her cheeks hollow. Imagine what she could do with that effing mouth. I mean, okay. Anyway, like I said, I had to get over myself. So those were my initial thoughts. But then after I had a little conversation with myself to say, look, your best friend loves this book. She gave you this book. You're trying to make it something that it's not, and then you are criticizing it for not being that. So I had to change my expectations for this and just tell myself, just have fun. Okay. Just have fun. Why is it so hard for me to just have fun? So another thing that I learned is that Rowan has a brother, Lachlan, who knows what he does. And Sloane has a best friend named Lark who also knows what she does, knows, that her extracurricular activity is killing serial killers. And then Rowan has another brother too that's a doctor. I think his name is Fionn. I hope I'm saying that right. Another aspect here, I'm trying to see what my notes say. This is a little bit of information about Lachlan, who is Rowan's brother. He apparently is some kind of assassin, maybe. So this must be like a family thing as far as those two are concerned. And we did also learn some background. Here's another trigger warning too, that Rowan and his brothers were abused by their father, and their father is dead now. But just a heads up on that, because there has been some discussion about that. Um, and I also didn't mention that Rowan's day job is running a restaurant business. And his business is called Three and Coach, which is named after when he and his brothers left. I think it's Ireland to come to the United States. They were Three and Coach on the plane. Um, and just again, like I said, that's the gist of where I've gotten so far. I have one more note. Oh, they're obviously falling for each other, but nothing has happened, really physically as far as romance yet. I mean, they've kind of gotten close to one another. But I forgot to mention too, they decided to have like this contest once a year where there would be a target, a serial killer that they needed or wanted to kill. And so they have a competition now where each of them is trying to kill the killer first. Um, so that's where I am. That was a very rambly discussion, for which I apologize. But that's just kind of where my brain is in life and with this book. But just to kind of switch a little bit in the realm of, letting myself relax and have fun. I showed on a previous check-in that I got a couple of packs of these Artist Loft watercolor dual tip markers. And I wasn't really sure what to do with them. So last night, while I was just kind of relaxing and watching some TV, I did use them in this coloring book that I have. And this is Color Your Fantasy by Amy Brown. And I also have sorry about the ring light glare, Color Your Fantasy 2. And the thing about these markers is they did bleed through. So I just put like an extra little slip of paper between the pages so that they wouldn't bleed through. So like I said, I'm about a third of the way through Butcher and Blackbird, and I was able to read 113 pages yesterday. And it got better once I told myself to just have a good time with it. And today, my husband is working, but I think one of my older daughters is going to come over and we're just going to kind of hang out for a while. Excuse me. I may make some oatmeal cookies later. But that is all for now. And I will check back in with you. Thank you for hanging with me during this rambly, just really kind of word vomits about Butcher and Blackbird. I will talk to you in the next check-in, hopefully a bit more coherent, but no promises there. Bye for now. Good morning. Good morning, Freya. Good morning. Freya just is saying, Mama, why you waking me up on a Sunday? No, because like, stand up. Wait, say hello. Hey, can you say happy? No. Can you say happy Sunday? No. Hello, it's Tuesday morning. It's about 9:30. So yesterday, as you could see from the clip, I worked on one of my classes that I'll be teaching in September, and that is a semester of Edgar Allan Poe. So I need to work on a couple of more units for that class today. Other than that, I've got to go to the drugstore to pick up a few prescriptions. And my youngest daughter, the only one who actually still lives at home, and as you've seen in the clips before, you can probably understand that she will always be living here with us. She will be, of course, going with me to the drugstore, and then we'll have to do a McDonald's run because every time we go out, she thinks she has to get McDonald's fries. So I have to kind of tell her first drugstore, then Donald's fries is what she calls them. So I know I'm going to have to be doing that today. Other than that, I'm just going to start reading, excuse me, my second romance book for this vlog, Lizzie and Dante. So before I talk about that book, let me just get to Butcher and Blackbird. I finished it last night, and to be honest, I wanted to just go ahead and get through it because I was not having a good time with this book at all. Now, I'm not going to give it a rating because I don't feel like that's fair because I am most definitely not the target audience for this book. It just solidified my knowledge in the fact that I am not a dark romance reader. It's not a the type of book that I enjoy. But if you do enjoy that kind of book, then I will say for Butcher and Blackbird, the premise of two serial killers who kill other serial killers meeting and falling in love, it's a fun premise, but it's just not for me. So I decided to go with Lizzie and Dante next, since this was actually a romance book that I bought intentionally a few years ago because I liked the idea of it, which I've talked about the synopsis already in this video. So that's what I'm going to do today. Is to work on a couple of more units for my class, go to the drugstore, take my daughter by McDonald's to get her Donald's fries, and then do some reading of Lizzie and Dante. So I will check back in with you when I have more to talk about. See you in the next check-in. Bye. Rinna, are you ready to take a ride? You ready to ride? You're not gonna look? All right, let's go. Ready to eat? Taylor Swift? Okay, we'll have Taylor Swift while we eat. Get you a Donald fry.
Yummy.
Hello, it's Wednesday afternoon. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm kind of having a difficult brain day today, is kind of how I categorize days like this. And I'm feeling pretty tired. Also, you will hear my daughter in the background, who is, of course, at home for summer vacation right now. So just be aware of those things going into this check in. But I've made it one third of the way through Lizzie and Dante. And initially, I wasn't enjoying it very much, but as I've gotten further into it, I'm starting to enjoy it a bit more. I did read the author's bio, and it seems like this story is reflective of a lot of her personal life, possibly. I don't know about the um, cancer diagnosis that the main character has, if the author ever dealt with that. But the interesting thing is that the main character in this book, Lizzie, is a Shakespeare scholar and a university professor at Fordham. And the author herself is the chair of the English department at Fordham. And the love interest for Lizzie in this book is Italian, and the author's bio states that she is married to an actual Italian knight. So I have to wonder how much like crossover there is between the author's real life and the life of the main character, Lizzie. So just to talk about a few things that I picked up on as I was going in, um, the the first thing I tabbed is related to horror, because interestingly enough, the main character's best friend, he is actually a horror writer, and we find out a bit more about their story and how their past is linked, and kind of some interesting stuff that I can't really get into. But I did like that he's a horror writer, and she's kind of thinking about what he does for his career, and she thinks to herself, evil snuck into your blood at night, hiding, showing up under a microscope. So I thought that was an interesting juxtaposition about what real life horror is for this main character versus the kind of fictional horror writing that her best friend does. Now, her best friend's boyfriend that's on the trip with them is a famous actor. So he plays certain roles in Marvel movies. Of course, it kind of made up one and said Captain Britain in one of the Marvel movies. I have no idea if that's a real thing in any of the Marvel comics, because I don't really read comics. But it's kind of this interesting dynamic, because the actor who's been in all these Marvel films is also trying to write a script for kind of a modern day Romeo and Juliet. So he's supposed to be reading the play and then kind of discussing it with our main character, Lizzie, since she is a Shakespeare scholar. And he's got some really interesting, sometimes dumb ideas about what he wants to do with it. So we get Lizzie's kind of internal thoughts about what she thinks about her boyfriend's best friend's ideas. And I wasn't really getting into it yet. And then one of the things that started to get on my nerves is that the main character kept trying to um like think of a bunch of similes and metaphors for everything. And it kept doing that several times, but I think it stopped, or either I started getting into the story so I didn't notice it. But for example, one time she's, says something like, Lizzie took a deep breath. She felt like the flush of a toilet, like a flea that was going down the drain, like a cat trying to cross a stream. And so my note for that aspect of the book, I wrote, this this is getting annoying. But like I said, either that stopped or I just got enough into the story. So she finally meets the, man who's going to become her love interest, and he is a chef. As it turns out, he's like this famous chef, and he's kind of got a smaller place in Italy, but like bigger places in New York. And they start having conversations. And so Lizzie, of course, is faced with this cancer diagnosis. She's on treatment for that, has to take her medication. She's had surgeries. And she's kind of debating about whether she needs to even try to be in this, romantic entanglement or just leave. So she's thinking like I could run away back to New York, maybe even agree to discuss the new operation with my doctor, or I could stay. Now, also added to the mix is that Dante, who is the male love interest, he has a daughter who's like 12 or 13. She's looking for a mom, of course. Her mom, we find out, left when she was little, but then died later too. So she's kind of hung up on, wanting a mom, and she's sort of playing matchmaker or trying to play matchmaker for her dad and Lizzie. And it's kind of sweet and cute. She sets up this little romantic dinner where she knows he's going to be cooking, but she wants to set up like this archway with flowers. And there's a lot of callback to like the Parent Trap. And as I mentioned before, there are a lot of literature references throughout the book too. I know this is rambly, but I'm just trying to tell you a bunch of stuff. Um, but the difference I want to talk about in the way that the love scenes were depicted in Butcher and Blackbird and the way they're depicted in Lizzie and Dante, I want to talk about that. So here is one passage from the book. He bent down to the cooler, soft gray cotton. We're talking about Dante here. He bent down to the cooler. Soft gray cotton clung to his muscle back, and desire wrapped around her, Lizzie, like a favorite blanket she'd forgotten about. She had to swallow because it turned out that green eyes made desire turn to pure lust. So that's kind of contrasted with what was written in Butcher and Blackbird about the main love interest, the man's, what, pressing up against his zipper. So we've kind of got some differences in depictions of the way that you may feel desire for another person. So Dante has cooked this dinner for Lizzie, and I liked the way this was written. She was going to eat every delicious thing he had prepared, and then they were going to go to bed in his house because she didn't want him to see all the medicine she'd scattered around her room. So I felt that was very realistic. She is, feeling desire for him. She wants to go to bed with him, but she doesn't want him to be in her room seeing all of her medicine. And she goes ahead and tells him that she's had a few operations, as she knows that they are about to be intimate. So she knows that he's going to see her scars. And here's where I thought this was like what feels like a realistically kind of sexy moment. When she spilled wine, he took her hand and licked the golden wine from the tips of her fingers. Their eyes met, and she knew that his heart was beating as crazily as hers, both of them waiting for words to turn to kisses, for clothed to turn to naked. So I felt like that was pretty realistic. Then it talks about them, having their first encounter. And she tells him that she doesn't want a relationship. And he tells her that's fine, that he'll just, F her every night that she stays in Italy. And so we're kind of going from there. And obviously, I'm having a better experience with this book. Than I did with Butcher and Blackbird. It's still not my favorite genre, but I'm actually finding myself intrigued and interested by what's going to happen in the relationship between Lizzie and Dante. So I'm going to close this for now. I apologize for the rambliness, but I feel like I'm kind of just spilling out my thoughts to you because I don't really know how to discuss romance books too well. But that's what you get when a horror reader reads romance. So I will check back with you later. Bye. Hello, it is a stormy Thursday morning, so I apologize for the poor lighting. And if you hear thunder, sorry about that. I've got my coffee and I'm here to talk about Lizzie and Dante. I went ahead and finished this book last night. Not because I was loving it so much that I had to finish it, but because, to be honest with you, once we hit the midway point of this book, I was just ready to be done with it. So, in the last check in, I had some, sort of optimistic thoughts about where this book might go, but it really started going downhill for me. Like I said, about halfway through the book, there were too many extra characters. Gray, who is our main character, Lizzie's best friend, I mentioned that they had had a relationship in the past. Well, they broke up whenever he told her that he was actually interested in men. And there's some weird issue he has with being upset with her. First of all, because she broke up with him when he told her that. And also, he's upset with her because he doesn't feel like she is pursuing certain avenues for treatment for her cancer. Sorry about the thunder, that he wants her to pursue. And he starts making it like all about him and how she's leaving him. And I just thought it was like a bit over the top on both of those cases. Um, it also started to get really sappy. I don't want to give a whole lot of details about the sappiness that begins to take place between Lizzie and Dante because that would be spoiler, I guess. But it just got really overly sentimental and a bit ridiculous. The literary references just started going off the rails. It was entirely too much. The whole Romeo and Juliet story that I mentioned that's part of this, where, see, it's even confusing to explain, where Lizzie's best friend, Gray, who is with another man, they've been together a long time, the famous actor I mentioned who is doing the, kind of modern reimagining of Romeo and Juliet. You get just a lot of their story, which ended up feeling very forced and thrown in, kind of like all the literary references. It seemed like the author just wanted to throw in LGBTQ rep, and there wasn't really enough substance to that story. She also threw in musical representations, which started to get a bit ridiculous. Lizzie, we find out, I don't think this is spoiler, she has a really beautiful singing voice, but she doesn't really want to sing a lot. But now that she's with Dante, she starts singing. Then everybody starts singing, and I don't even know what to say. It just got ridiculous. But that's really all I want to say about it. I had sort of high hopes of it in the last check-in, but downhill they went. So no, I am so far 0 for 2 in romance. I'm not really surprised by that, but I have one more book to see if any romance would possibly work for me. And that is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I mentioned this synopsis already, so I won't really go into it. This has got like 405 pages, and I'm going to be 100% for real with you all right now. If I am not intrigued by the first 100 pages of this, I'm going to DNF it. I just can't anymore. So this is my last hope. So I will check back in with you after I get through 100 pages of Just for the Summer and let you know what I think. Wish me luck. Bye. Hello. It is Thursday afternoon. It's about 2 o'clock, and I have gotten to page 106 in just for the summer. So I reached the cutoff point of 100 pages to decide whether or not I was going to continue with my romance reading or DNF this book. And I have made the decision to DNF Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Now, I want to say that it is not because I didn't think that the writing was good writing. It is. The story is cute, but a couple of the issues I'm having for me personally, first of all, the main characters are maybe in their early to mid 20s, which I kind of expected going in, but I was already feeling a little bit unable to relate to either one of them. And then the main character, the male love interest, Justin, says something about his mom being 48. And that just kind of stuck with me because I am 49. And I was thinking, I cannot relate to these young people who are, commenting on each other's like DMs or whatever. I just can't get into that. And you may say, hey, well, you don't, relate to all of the horror characters that you read about either. And that's true. But I enjoy horror. I love horror. So I don't feel like I have to necessarily relate to the characters in that genre. But if I'm going to find an, interest in a romance book, I need to at least to some degree relate to the characters. And I absolutely cannot. So I'm going to end this romance vlog now and return to my beloved horror books. But I'm not going to consider this vlog a fail. I have been successful at proving to myself and everyone watching that I am not a romance reader. So, with all that being said, I thank you so much for watching this journey that I took. And I hope that you have enjoyed it. I know I really have not, but at least now we know the verdict is that I do not enjoy romance. So I appreciate you watching. I would really, enjoy continuing more conversations with you, prefer- preferably more focused on the horror genre. If you would like to subscribe, I would really appreciate that. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.